Welcome back to Incorporating Superpowers. This is going to be another great episode. I'm your host, Justin Reckla, and today we're talking to a gentleman who's really cracked the code on some things. My guest today is David Rothwell, and we're going to be talking about how to be confident with Google Adwords. I know that this is a topic that scares the bejesus out of so many business owners trying to crack the code of Google Adwords, because every time you think you get it figured out, Google goes and changes something, and now you're having to start all over again. So we're going to be talking about how do you get confident with Google AdWords and what that looks like. So, David, thanks so much for being on the show today.
My pleasure, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I've already called it out a little bit, but what's the biggest problem that you see in the whole AdWord Google space right now that people are just, what is it? Paint the picture for me, because I know it can get ugly.
Okay, well, so 20 years ago, nobody had even really heard of Google. But in 20 years, they've gone from nothing to being one of the world's wealthiest brands. And the reason for that is because they make nearly all of their money from paid advertising. So in 2018, last year, they made $116.3 billion out of online advertising.
How much?
$116.3 billion.
That's a lot.
You can look that up. That's public information. That's their earnings. And that's from advertising. So they're making an absolutely extraordinary amount of money out of their advertising system. And many, many businesses, I've been doing this for 15 years, but even now, today, many businesses spend money on Google Ads and make Google very wealthy, but they have no clue whether or not they're actually making any money in return. And this is the biggest problem for everybody out there, is really understanding the relationship between what they spend and what they earn. It's really very simple, because when you spend money in your business, you expect to get more money back. We spend money in business for a lot of reasons. We buy a website, we pay subscriptions, we might be buying Google ad clicks, but the whole point of it is to get more money back than you spend. It's that simple. And because this stuff is all actually digital and you can join it all up, it's not terribly difficult to build machinery that this can work for. It's taken me a lot of years really to completely get my head around that. And some businesses it works, some types of businesses it works more easily for. But essentially what you're trying to do is measure the money that comes back once you've bought clicks and got somebody to your website and invited them to your business and get them involved with it. You're trying to sell them something. So there's really, the thing is there's much more to Google Ads than just the campaigns. So many people just go off and buy clicks and they're not ready. They need all this other stuff doing before they do that.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. Is what are some of the things that people can be doing to get a little bit more confident with the Google AdWords? What are some things that they should be doing before they even get to the place of doing that?
Well, you need to understand, there's some quite straightforward math behind it all, really. You've got to know things like, what's your average order value? When you sell something, how much do you get paid for it? And if you've got a variety of things, let's start with some averages to begin with. What's your customer lifetime value? How many times are people going to pay you? So when somebody comes as a result of an ad click, what is the actual value of that to you? Some businesses collect leads, professional services typically collect leads. What's the value of that lead? When you get that lead, how much is it going to convert to the actual payoff to you? How long does that take? How many steps are there involved in it? What does that actually mean in terms of you getting paid? How much is that? And these are the economics of the thing that you've got to understand before you go off and start buying clicks. Because if you don't know the numbers, the money numbers for your business, and every business is different and unique, then you're getting ahead of yourself spending money on clicks when you don't know those kinds of numbers first.
Yeah, that's and I think that's the people go to Google AdWords thinking that it's just it's going to solve everything for them. They do a little bit of this, they do a little bit of that, and and we've seen this happen before with people in some clients that we worked with that they're absolutely they're doing Google Ads, but their product is they're spending so much money, and the amount of money they're putting out doesn't necessarily match up with what they're getting back. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So how are you disrupting that entire industry? How are you helping your clients shift into looking at things differently?
Well, I insist with businesses that I work with that we are able to track the money coming back from the campaigns. I won't spend my clients' money unless I know how it all joins up and how we can turn that money that we spend into more money coming back. So I just take the responsibility of spending clients' money very seriously. Other organizations that do the kind of work that I do, managing campaigns for people, they'll just take your money and spend it, and then they'll charge you to spend the money that they spent for you, as well as you having to pay your clicks, you have to pay them as well. And they still haven't necessarily spent, shown you any money back in return. I've got case study after case study after case study of how this stuff can all work successfully and where it all goes wrong in many cases, because businesses often just don't know, their business properly. They don't know the sales process properly. They don't ask an agency the right questions. I've got a Harley Street hypnotherapist. He sent me an email. My agency left me broke. I've spoken to lots of people who've worked with agencies and paid them a lot of money, and they haven't got anything to show for it. And it's just that they don't know the right questions to ask.
Well, that's I love that. And first and foremost, people, if you're listening to the show here, you can go take a look at David's profile inside the Clear Business Directory. He does operate a transparent business. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on the show here. I met David in person at a CEO Space forum late last year. We really connected in a very unique space. I love the personalized approach that you do, David, and what you said was so important. Of like, I'm going to spend my clients' money wisely, and I'm not just going to go out there and spend it because they told me they had an $8,000 budget, so I just went and blew through the $8,000 budget, which I've seen it happen. I've known people that have done that, and it's irresponsible. It seems to be what the industry standard is. It's, in my opinion, one of the reasons why things like SEO and web advertising and the people that are in that industry have gotten a bad rap is because they don't stop and ask the questions. They just take your money and they run with it, and it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. So I love the fact that you're taking that relationship approach to business. So if you've been listening, we're talking to David Rothwell. He's a Google expert. He's in the media business for quite some time. We're talking about how to be confident with Google AdWords. And David, before we go on break, where can people go find more information about you?
Just look me up on davidrothwell.com, or I'm published on Amazon as well, so you can find me there.
Fantastic. And those will be in the show notes as well. So stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to dive into this a little bit further because I want to learn a little bit more about what David's superpowers are. So stay tuned.
Are you an entrepreneur who speaks at conferences? Have you attended a conference and seen someone on stage you know is guilty of bad business practices? If you want to stand out from the crowd and give your prospective clients peace of mind, then make sure your business is in the Clear Directory. All of our members operate in transparency and are screened annually for frauds and scams. Stand out from the crowd and get in the Clear Directory. Visit clearbusinessdirectory.com/join to sign up today.
Welcome back to Incorporating Superpowers. I'm your host, Justin Rekla, and we are talking to David Rothwell right now about how to be confident with Google AdWords. This is something that really messes people up. It's complicated. It's crazy. They don't understand it. They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know who to trust. They know that if they throw a lot of money at it, it's supposed to return a whole lot of money, but it's not always that. Right. And so people are losing confidence in it, and they're tired of overpaying money, which is one of the reasons why I love having David on the show here, is that he wants to make sure that you're getting the value of what it is that you're working with, and that he's just not going to let you spend $8,000 and throw it out the window if you're not getting any money back. It just makes zero sense. So, David, before the break, we're talking about how you're disrupting it and some of the things we just talked about, but I got to know, what do you consider your superpowers?
So I'm a former computer systems engineer and IT manager. And I did this for over 20 years before I got laid off in the dot-com crash in 2001. And I had to reinvent myself. And I did a few bits and pieces. And then I accidentally got into the whole website SEO, Google Ads thing. I did it really because I wanted to promote my own consulting business. So, and I just found it really, really fascinating and really interesting. I just couldn't sort of stop doing it. And it's my engineering background that really makes my approach a bit different to everybody else's that I've seen anyway, in all the time I've been doing it. You know, I used to build IT infrastructure, so you could just come into the office and sit down and log in and work and do your job and all of that, and run help desks and, you know, keep it going and fix it when it broke and stuff like that. And it took me a lot of years to realize I was doing exactly the same thing with Google Ads. I'm building mission critical digital advertising solutions for businesses so that they can sell their stuff and make money when people go looking for them. And the approach that I bring to it is very engineering oriented. It's systems integration, it's numbers, it's math, you know, it's scientific. But the other thing that's really interesting about it for me is I'm a great reader, have been all my life. So I love the written word. And I find that this is Google Ads, you know, the environment is the intersection between science of the you know, the digital stuff and the numbers, but also we write ads to get people's attention. So it's all about the written word very much as well. And so it's just a very fascinating environment to work in.
I like that because it's you know, from a counterintelligence perspective, you know, that's our background is in the counterintelligence world. It's looking at how is the person that's looking at the ad, how are they receiving it? How are they reading it? Where is it hitting their psychology? Where is it hitting their pain points? Where is it getting them to want to click on the ad? And you're absolutely right. There is a science to that. And I think that's one of the biggest issues why people get frustrated with it is that they're really good at what they're good at, right? Whatever the industry is, whatever their business is, whatever their service is, if they don't have somebody on their team who understands the science of it, right? And that's why I love the fact that you said, you know, you come from that science background, you come from the engineering background. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you and I get along so well when we connected in person is that you think like we do in the sense that you think through processes, you think through systems, you think through filters, and that is so essential when trying to crack the code in building up the, you know, Google AdWords, and it's difficult to do on your own. So how long have you been doing this for folks? How long have you been doing this? I know you said that you got into it for yourself and you wanted to promote your consulting fee. So what point in time did you decide to start using your superpowers for good and helping other people?
So I got into it I opened my first account in 2003, which is 16 years ago now. And I diddled around with it and couldn't figure it out, which was frustrating. And then I went back to it and just really got involved. And I started then really beginning to figure it out with a bit of help. And I turned professional with it in 2005, March of 2005. And my very first ever client was a lady in real estate in Houston, Texas. And I've been working for clients since then. It was really in 2013, though, that I, by accident, found some extra moving parts inside of Google's machinery, because there's a heck of a lot in there. And you can't see it all unless you go digging around inside. You know, that's the engineer, the curious engineer in me, is taking things to pieces, you know, figuring out how they work and then building stuff out of them. So 2013 was when I accidentally discovered the real conversion revenue tracking piece of this, which just solved the whole thing, because lo and behold, we could actually start seeing the money coming in. You know, we'd always been seeing the money going out, and that's what everybody hates. Now we could start seeing the money coming in, and now it's just a question of math. How much do we spend? How much do we make? And what's the difference? So that really transformed things, and that's how I've been working with it ever since.
I love that, and I know that you have a service that I would like to highlight is your commission only service. You want to tell our listeners a little bit about, because this, folks, if you're already in the Google AdWords space, and you're looking for the next level of things, this is something that is so unique that nobody else that I know of anyways, that even offers this. So you want to share what that is and what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So, what has to be said is Google Ads doesn't work cost effectively for every business. It just doesn't. And there's no agency in the world that will tell you that, because all they want to do is spend your money for you. So I do very much like what you do. I do sort of a background check on businesses. I vet them very, very carefully to really understand what they're all about, what they do, what they sell, who they sell it to, who they don't sell it to, how the sales process works. 66 questions that I ask them to figure out, what do you like and how can we make this work for you if we can. And if we then can work together successfully, I can work on a commission basis. There's a threshold of revenue. I like to be able to make at least $10,000 a month for clients, gross campaign revenue. And if we get to that point, at that point, I can work on a commission basis. So I'm interested in the money that I make for you, not what I spend for you, like agencies do.
Do you hear that, folks? I don't think you're going to hear that from anybody else in the industry, is that David is going to work off of commission for you. Now you got to get through his due diligence process. You just heard him. He's got a due diligence process. He's got to make sure it's a good fit, because he's not going to work with you otherwise, right? So if you think that's you, take a look at David's site, go take a look and see what he's got to offer, because I don't know of anybody else in the industry that offers a commission only type service to do Google AdWords. That's crazy. That's absolutely no, it's I've never seen it. And I think that's what makes you stand out and speaks volumes as to not only your confidence in what you do and what you know about it, because you're not going to take on a client if you know you can't make them money, because you don't make them money, you don't make money. Right. So that's a huge value add in my opinion. And I think that's one of the biggest things that really sets David apart in this industry. So folks, take a look at David, take a look at his services. He is doing things completely different than everything else out there. David, before we sign off, can you tell our listeners one more time where they can go find you?
Okay, sure. So David Rothwell, look for me on Amazon. You'll find my books on there. And davidrothwell.com is where I'm at. It's about to get a big makeover, because you may or may not know I'm going to be teaching my stuff at CEO Space in Dallas in May. So
Absolutely.
You're doing a big new makeover. The website is going to look different and better, but that'll get you started.
Fantastic. Well, again, David, thank you so much for being on the show, and for you, our listener base. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your loyalty, and again, thank you for your trust. We want to make sure we bring you people that are doing things different in the world, who have superpowers, who are out there challenging the status quo, because they know that there's a better way of doing business. There's a different way of doing business. And that's what this show is all about. So stay tuned. Take a look at the next show. Again, David, take care. We'll see you in May and more soon. Thank you for your trust.
Thanks, Justin.